Ladies, do you struggle with knowing if you have proper form on certain exercises? Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. We are not only going to explain proper form, but we're going to do it in a language that ladies understand. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
We're basically glorified translators is what's going to
happen. We are. But we're going to do it from the female perspective.
Yes.
As I think, sometimes you just got to do like real world examples, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of proper form, my butt hurts.
I know. My ball, every time I get up off the ball, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I finally bought a new chair for my computer. And now I'm standing.
Wait, you already got the new chair?
No, I'm standing now because I don't have the new chair. I'm sitting on this pillow.
Ew.
And it's not working.
No.
God. And I have a pretty juicy butt. So like you would think this padding would be helpful, but it's not.
No, I think it's honestly because you've probably been sitting in that chair all day. Right? Yeah, because I'm looking, it's Monday and you have meetings all Monday.
All day long, baby. So yeah, my butt hurts, but now my foot hurts. I just was on social media and I saw something that I want to address real quick. There's a person I follow and everything is about how life gets hard when you go through perimenopause. And while yes, things change, you can't have that mindset. You can't have the mindset of like, everything is harder. Everything is harder. Like I can't have the mindset of like, oh, I'm just sore. I can get up. I can move around. You can stretch. Like you have to look for, like you have to put in your mind, you need to tell your like neural pathways what you want it to pay attention to. So why don't we focus on what we can control, how we can make things easier, how we can find a new balance, right? Because if you think things are hard, guess what? You're going to confirm that in your mind and things are going to be hard for you. You're going to confirm that and say, see, I just can't lose weight because I'm going through perimenopause. It's like, well, yeah, because you're going to look for reasons why that's happening and you're just going to confirm whatever it is you believed in and your behaviors will reflect that confirmation. So,
yeah, because I hear that with pregnancy's hard or like body aches, like, yes, there are body aches, but I promise, like, if I don't do my mobility on a day, it makes a difference. Like I definitely feel different in my body. So I strength train 3 days a week. And then the rest of the days I do between like literally 6 minutes to 30 minutes of mobility. And depending on, and I notice it makes a huge difference in just how I feel. So
no, it 1000% does. Like I have a client, she's going through perimenopause and she's like, I'm still feeling pain in my joints. So I was like, let's add some like hip mobility or it was her hips. Let's add some hip mobility. And she's like, yeah, perfect. I'm like,
so much better. So
just a reminder there, what you say in your mind, you feel, you feel all of the time. Anyhow. Yesterday was a productive day for me.
Was it?
I did all my laundry.
Good.
I meal prepped. I want to talk about what I meal prepped because it was really easy. So I made a box of protein pasta.
Okay.
And then I made two things. I made a the Key West tuna pasta from Paradise Bakery that no longer exists. So I made the protein pasta, had 2 cans of tuna, some Greek yogurt, some bell peppers, some chives, garlic, salt and pepper, and then just made it. And it was easy. Like it took me no time. The thing that took me longest was making the pasta. So what is that? Including getting it to a boil, 12 minutes.
That sounds so good. I should do that.
Yeah, it's fucking bomb. I love it so much. Then I made a chicken salad. So I just took the canned chicken and I picked out the rib meat just because it's gross to me. So I just took a can of chicken, some Greek yogurt, cut up like 50 grams of grapes and cut them in half. Took a trail mix packet that I have with like walnuts, seeds, cranberries, put that in there, mixed it up. So now for lunch tomorrow, if I want to do a chicken salad sandwich, boom, done.
Damn. All right. Well, now I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. For dinner tonight, we're doing sweet potato, big sweet potato.
I love sweet potato.
Do a sweet potato, some ground beef. We have frozen peppers and onions. I add some feta cheese and this like jalapeno sauce. It's so good. We just put the things in the microwave.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah. Michael's going to grill some chicken and I don't know what we're having as sides. Because he
Yeah.
usually, Mondays and Wednesdays are my longer days. So he usually cooks. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are his longer days. So I cook.
Yeah.
So that's how it goes. And then Friday, we usually go out to dinner. And that's that.
Yeah. I feel good.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm starting my week off strong, and I am going to listen to podcasts every 2 days a week that are trash podcasts. And the rest of the time, I'm going to work on my own mindset around being a business owner, as well as a
Entrepreneur.
human being. Yeah. As a
Yeah.
human being. Because I was listening to a lot of political podcasts, as you guys know, and it just put me in a mood. And I don't want to be in a mood. Oh, the other thing I did was I last week got done with calls, and I got up. I had to take this call from my room because Mark was doing some shit out in the front, but then he was going to come to the gym where my office is. So I was like, I'll just do it from my room. And I got up, closed my laptop, and I immediately felt hungry. And I was like, I went to go walk, and I was like, I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry at all. I'm going to eat in like an hour. And so I did a what was it? A decompressor day meditation from YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a tapping meditation on YouTube.
Oh,
Tapping, I think for my CEUs, for my therapy degree, I want to do some EFT tapping. It really does make a difference. And it mimics like EMDR in a way. You're just tapping like your pressure points. But the way that it works is, so the first thing, you're just acknowledging, like, I'm really stressed out, but I will get through this. I'm really stressed out. And you tap, tap, tap. So you tap the side of your hand for about 10 to 20 taps. You tap in between your eyebrows. So like right at the edge of your eyebrow, 10 to 20 taps. You see that same thing. Go on your cheekbone, 10 to 20, below your nose.
Does the
chin.
tempo of the taps matter?
No. I mean,
No.
don't, just like a steady state, steady list. Collarbone, and then under your armpit. Then the next round, you say, I'm really stressed out. I'm anxious. This stress is causing me anxiety. And you acknowledge what the stress is doing. And then the third round, you do more, I can find peace. My body is relaxing. And you just go through those same taps. It works. I put it in for our clients. It's in your resources tab now.
For the tapping, okay, now what are those points? Like, what's the significance of that?
They're pressure points.
Oh,
They're like points where you would, like in acupuncture,
Uh-huh.
they're like acupuncture points.
Uh-huh.
So they help to release the stress or like the pressure, if you will, pressure
Got
points.
it.
So I don't know a lot about it. I just followed this video. That's why I want to go through a training. Plus it'll help me with my CEUs. The other training that that I have in my queue is on cognitive behavioral therapy for women going through menopause.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Just figuring it out. The last time I had CEUs, I did everything on binge eating, and that's where I got the sustainable eating quadrant. Because it's not this intuitive eating thing. Yes, that's great and all, but I like the sustainable eating quadrant because it's more tangible, I think.
It's so funny because it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was talking to one of our clients who's graduated, and I was asking her, I was like, man, if you're going to, like, because she's been through every single program that we offer.
Yay!
I know. So I had messaged her asking, hey, if you were to receive a one sheet thing, just like, here's a sheet that is very helpful from all of the stuff that what sheet would be very helpful for you? And I said, there is no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious, again, asking our clients, how long did it take you to click sign up? Just kind of getting data for us. And she said the sustainable quadrant.
Ooh,
I know. And I was like, that's awesome. Okay, good to know. So
yeah, that was an interesting training. It was like a somatic training on somatic stuff and body connection for binge eating. So you learned a lot about mindfulness, trauma, of course, and then this, all these little tips along the way. And I'm like, that's the beautiful thing about having this degree, is that I get access to these trainings that allow for me to learn things that are research-based. And honestly, they're designed for people who have the mental, they're designed for mental struggles rather than just behavioral change. because it's cognitive behavioral, right? Cognitive is your brain, behavioral is the change. So I'm glad I have access to that. I'm supposed to go to a dinner tomorrow night for Renfrew. You and I talked about this. Renfrew Eating Disorder Treatment Center. They invited me to come. So I'm going to do that tomorrow night. A little networking event.
It was somewhere nice.
Olive and Ivy.
It's fancy.
Scottsdale. I know. Free dinner. Hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
Everyone usually gets a drink. And I'm like, yeah, let's get a set of water because I don't drink on the weekdays. Yeah. It's crazy when I go out and have drinks, how high my heart rate is at night. I fucking hate it. And it's high compared to me and not compared to other people. Like it went up to 70 beats per minute. And I was like, dang. It's like, no, that's what a normal person's heart rate is.
So I got a networking event on Wednesday too. And I think I've got another one in a couple of weeks because now they're kicking back up, which I'm going and I'm pregnant, but that's okay. Because then I went to one this weekend too. I forgot about that. I did.
I was invited to that, by the way.
I know. You told me that, but then I thought it was very birth worker focused. So I think it would have been good for you to show face, but I don't know if you would have necessarily gotten what we need out of it. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but just like in a, like I can go to that one and you can go this eating disorder one at Olive and Ivy. The one on Wednesday that I'm going to is like focused towards like mothers networking group. So like women who are moms that own businesses. So cool. We'll go to that one. And then there's another one that's like a BNI one that this gal's given a talk at that I like. She's a doula. She's very interesting. Yeah.
We're just getting out there. If you want to show up to your networking event, let us know.
I like networking events.
We love speaking. No, I do too. I'm such a weird person where like I work all day and then having to go somewhere at night. I'm like,
I hate it.
Can we just do a breakfast?
I know. At like 7 a.m., please.
Yes. I just want to do breakfast. Like, let me do it the first thing in the morning.
Yes. Because my personality at 7 a.m. compared to 5 p.m. is way different. I'll tell you that right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Mine too. And tomorrow is a pretty busy day. I've got 3 life coaching calls, 2 one-on-one calls. And then I'm supposed to have the group coaching call, but we haven't launched that yet. So I've just put it in there to save it.
I need to make sure I've got a coaching call tomorrow too. I got audiology coaching call and then OBGYN. And then I got 2 doulas. No, 1 doula coming over. And then the other one's the night lady that's going to come. Yeah. Check out the
Someone
house.
was asking me if you were, I was on a clarity call, if you were like fearful or like scared. I go, nope, she is over prepared.
Yes, I am.
All the things.
You know what? So actually, I'm glad you asked that question. So I did with one of my clients who's pregnant, she had IVF and whatnot. And so it's more of I don't want to say more of a sensitive subject, but there is so much there for her because she has wanted this baby so bad for so long and they've invested so much time financially and whatnot. Not to say that if you conceive naturally that's not there. But she had a lot of fear. And so I said, let's do this. I need you to send me all of your questions on what your fears are. Every single one. Like it doesn't even a fear like that I stub my toe and then, yeah. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh.
Same brain.
Like fear that she stubbed her toe and that would like cause like a hemorrhage or something like that, so whatever it could be. So I said, send them all. That way I can look it over and kind of prepare. And then what I did, I said, I'm going to record the call and then I'm going to send it to you. So that way you have access to it in the future. That way, if these fears start to come up, you can replay the call and we can know. So I was thinking.
By the way, we have a 1 sheet for sustainable eating. Sorry.
Yes, we do. And we will link it. So I was thinking, since I'm with my maternity leave, that I was like, you know what I'll do is I'll put that in our files of like, hey, we can access, not put it in our files, put it in our Trello board, our management board for podcasts. That way, if we need it, because she gave me the okay. Like if I was, because I was like, hey, if we want to use this, can we use it? Can we do your face and all that? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. So that will be an option if someone wants to listen to that, where it's like us just go, and it's literally her as a client of like going through, I mean, and it's, the fears are
That's
totally,
great, yeah.
yeah, like they're not irrational, like, but you
Mhm.
feel like they are irrational with birth, right? Like you shouldn't be fearful. You shouldn't, but it's like, but you are. And I think that was part of
Very.
the creation of the mindset of mommies, is to take away some of that fear by giving women the education around these circumstances, because the fear comes from lack of education.
Right.
So
No, I agree. I agree. And you can listen to your episodes as well.
yeah, that's true.
For those of you wondering what happens when Amanda goes on maternity leave,
Yeah.
we are going to have a whole slew of guest people that are going to record with me. So I have
Liz.
a naturopath that's a friend, and we'll talk about, I want to talk about acupuncture with her. She does a lot of acupuncture for stress management.
Yeah.
I have the makeup artist for the Arizona Cardinals and Arizona Rattlers.
Yeah.
Talking about just her experience in that space. I haven't asked her yet, but I know she'll do it. I will have a local news personality to talk about body image and image struggles in the news.
Great. Yeah.
I have a social media expert. She was an influencer, but before it was a thing, on how social media is a lie.
Good.
Yep. And then we'll have Coach Liz. So we'll talk about PCOS and autoimmune issues. Coach Laura talking about hormonal issues. Coach Desley, I haven't decided what we'll do with her. And I think we'll be good by then. And then I'll do some one-offs.
Well, yeah, because we're going to have the pre-recorded ones too.
Yes. So you will not miss out, my friends.
Yes.
And we'll keep looking for people.
Nope. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about proper form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking exercise form and ladies' language.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably thinking, why are you guys doing this? Because we want you to relate to the movement.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you it's like doing reverse cowgirl, then you bet, oh, that's what I have to do. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah. Hip hinge, right? Amanda and I literally sat here and talked about sex positions and how we could add that to this.
And if it would be appropriate or not, but we are going to make it inappropriate as usual.
You know, we really liked you to think you're just talking to your girlfriends that know a little bit about a little bit.
Well, here's the thing is we actually talk like this too. So
correct. We're very vulgar.
You know what? So actually, sidebar, sorry. So when I posted like 3 words to describe me, someone put raunchy for me.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I know. I was like, okay.
Who was it?
I don't know. I forgot. I just read it and laughed. And then I thought, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's all right.
Who was it? Someone put badass bitch. I'm like,
hell yeah.
It's Piper.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pipe.
Thanks, Piper. All right. Well,
Okay.
What is form?
What is form? So form is a specific way to go through a movement. And so what that means is we're hitting certain, I like to call them like touch points and certain movements of each, kind of thinking of joint articulation. So what are my ankles doing? What are my knees doing? What are my hips doing? What is my chest doing? Elbows, head, neck. And so when we're looking at form, we're touching. So when we're looking at form, we're looking at all those touch points, right? Because they want to be in a good alignment per se. But that's going to create what we need is body awareness. So we need to be able to have that connection to our body and or being able to visibly see it. So whether that's through a mirror, being aware of it if you're more advanced, or videoing ourselves. But we want to make sure the alignment of those touch points is in the appropriate position, posture's in the appropriate position. And then that all creates what the technique of the lift is. Absolutely. One thing that we want to talk about with form too is that it's controlled, right? Mm-hmm. So what you'll see sometimes, and again, I used to do CrossFit and I love CrossFit and I would love to go and do CrossFit again. But what you'll see sometimes is uncontrolled movement when they're doing their workouts, right? They're just kind of blasting like a shoulder overhead press really quickly instead of focusing, and they're using traps.
With the anterior pelvic tilt or something.
With a tilt, using your traps, and then their body's fogged. And so when that happens, that's creating a breakdown in form, which creates injuries or potential for injuries or joint pain or poor recovery. So we want to be able to control the movement, typically through full range of motion, unless otherwise noted. There are benefits to partials, or like what's it called? Like a 3. I forget, like where it's like the bicep curls where you do 7 here, 7 at full range,
21s.
7. Yes. Okay. So at 21s, but most, I would say, I almost want to say like 85% of the time, you're going to do a full range of motion with this controlled form in a specific pattern.
Right. Well, and form is, like you said, really important because we do want to prevent injury, especially as we age. That's going to be super important. And also, as we age, we want to make sure that we are getting the benefit out of the movement, right? So if our form is not correct, we are not being effective with that movement. So we want to make sure that we are, and I talked about this with the client today because we're doing squat to box, and she was doing it where she drops to the box, sits down, stands up.
Yep.
And I said, okay, well, there's 2 ways we can do this. And we had a whole conversation about like the goal that she wants to achieve from this movement. Do we want to work quads or we want to work glutes? Because we work glutes, we're just going to tap that box, right? And keep it more in the posterior part of the body. Or if we want to get it more
posterior, describe
your back. Posterior chain is everything behind you.
Yes.
This booty. So you obviously are going to maximize the effectiveness, of the movement. Do I sound like I'm drunk? Because I can't hear myself.
No, kinda.
I'm not.
Like on weekdays, ladies.
Yes, I do not. But you'll improve your technique, of course.
Yes.
And so improving techniques equals improving performance, which equals getting you stronger, which equals more muscle mass, which is exactly what you want to see.
Right.
That's how we create shape.
Yep. So also while form is important, you're going to create a symmetry between the muscles. So we want muscles to be equally strong on both sides. Now, caveat, you're probably always going to have a more dominant side. That's just the way of our bodies. But overall, it shouldn't be like I'm using 50 pounds. Let's make that more realistic. 25 pounds for an overhead press on my right arm and only 15 pounds for overhead press on my left arm. So symmetry tends to be more aesthetically pleasing as well. So again, going back to improved technique creates more of this muscle mass. We want that muscle mass symmetrical. We like to have aesthetically pleasing body, but not only that, more so of it's going to create better posture too. So thinking where Christina was talking about posterior chain. So that's your back and your butt, hamstrings. So think of the back of you. That all helps uphold your body to have a nice stance, a nice posture, which again gives you more of a leaner look. Also, like for example, think of the elder gals who are rolled shoulders, kind of walking with their purse, like crouched up between their armpit, and they're bent over like a hunch. It's not hunchback, but and I don't mean to say that so rudely, but that is poor posture, right? Their back muscles are weak. Their core muscles are weak. Everything is just strained. And so what we don't want is that to happen, and working on proper form can help mitigate that. And so even for example, let's take like a single arm dumbbell row, for example. You can do that in a way that actually is creating that inward rotation of your shoulder, which creates more of that rounded back that I'm talking about. Or we can do it in a way that actually emphasizes those back structures where your chest is more forward, and it does give you a perkier look.
Yeah. When we have a perkier look, also when we're standing up straight, our shoulders are back, tits up, we just look more confident, And so it's, when you look more confident, and also when you're feeling it, like when I do glute bridges, like I did today, I did 255 at 8.
Ooh, nice.
I felt that bitch in my ass hurts. That's why I'm standing up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what that forward shoulder posture is known as is mom posture.
What?
But it's not in this the certified personal trainer, like in our actual education, but they call it mom posture. Rounded shoulder posture, also known as mom posture, is a common postural problem in which the resting position of the shoulders leans forward from the ideal alignment. And now let's talk about posture real quick. Like it's not that, like I said, straight up tits out. Your posture alignment is going to be depending on you. Yeah. Right. So it's not like what did they used to do? Put the book on the head and walk. I'm trying to remember what
I would consider mom posture, like they tend to have these hips jutted forward.
Mm-hmm.
too. And that's not, and then there's your low back pain and there's your flat butt. So that's another one I see.
Yeah. Let me see. What is upper cross syndrome? That's
There
what
we
it is.
go. Yep.
I was like, I know it's not like an obvious
name,
but upper cross. So, and then of course, once we have the right posture, we have the right form, we can then set goals for ourselves in that movement, right? So we can lift better because, right, all of this is working together. So now we can have higher goals and get to those goals safely and achieve them. So that's very, very important.
Okay, let's go into the most common ones.
All right, baby. We're going to start with the good old squat. Amanda, why don't you tell the people some functional movements in real life lady life?
Replicate a
squat. Yeah.
So I tell clients this one, it's like, think of sitting on a toilet, right? And this is like, I'm not just plopping on the toilet. I'm coming back to the toilet nicely. Or like even like a porta potty where you don't want your butt on the toilet. And so you're hovering. That would be like a good example of a wall squat.
Oh yeah.
Hover,
ladies. We're not sitting on a toilet.
We're actually, hovering's not good for your pelvic floor. But honestly, if it became a hover for my pelvic floor or sitting on a porta potty, I'm going to hover.
Yeah. Squat, wipe, wash. Squat, wipe, wash.
Yeah. And like shake.
People was on their phone in the bathroom. Like, get off your phone.
Gross.
Okay.
Anyway, so picking up heavy furniture. So think I'm going to move this couch. I'm going to squat down, put my arms up underneath it and lift up. Right.
I'm going to change that to picking up your kid.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember, like ladies aren't going around picking up
heavy furniture. You know what I have in here is I thought of picking up a boulder because
you Fred Flintstone now?
What I was thinking of, like the carry, like those carries that the CrossFit people do, like where they pick up the cement thing or like this heavy sandbags. Anyway,
I think with pregnancy, like you do have this like kind of boulder in front of you.
Yes. So. Oh, I put that pregnant. So if you're pregnant, you have to pick up something off the floor, but you can't bend over because then you can't breathe. So you squat down to get it, and your legs are going to be by default wider, so your belly can fit between your legs too.
Yeah. And if you have a really weak pelvic floor and like you have urgency to go to the bathroom and say that maybe you don't have a toilet and you've got to go behind a garbage can, peeing in public is a squat. Peeing in the woods is a squat.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to get back up because you might have to run.
Yes.
And last but not least, my favorite, twerking. Boom, we're squatting. Little John didn't say get high. He said get low. He said get low in that squat and twerk it. Bounce that.
Isn't there's another song. There's that twerk song by the City Girls. I like that song too.
Yeah. Well, there's boom, boom, shake, shake. Now drop. We're dropping.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you are dropping.
What your mama said. Boom,
yeah.
Boom, shake, shake. Now drop.
Shake that monkey. That's what the song you're singing.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. So so if you're thinking of
shaking the monkey would be more like if we're doing like a booty clap, that's more I would say hip hinge.
Okay.
So we'll get into that.
Well, I
try it. I want to see some good twerking. Look up Cardi B. I want to say
that's the City Girls, the twerk.
I know that video, man. I've never been in love with a woman like I have when I watched that video. And her like leopard prints.
Twerk.
This sound like Cardi with the braids. Anyway,
okay.
Focus. People are listening. They're like, not anymore. So if you guys think of a funny squat, put it in our comments. What's this face?
Oh my God.
I have one. I have an elderly dog.
I'm watching YouTube. If you go to twerk by City Girls, you get it. Okay. Anyway, back to this. Sorry. Okay.
So maybe we should reiterate. It's not the twerk. The twerk is going to be hip hinge. We're getting low in the squat.
Yes.
Try to get low, 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 low. All right. So let's talk about, now that we know what it is. And the function. Oh, and like I said, picking up my dog, my little elderly dog. Gotta pick her up sometimes from the ground. She can't stand up.
Yep.
But she's doing better, guys. Thank you for the love.
Yep.
Had another great weekend. I think I've just, again, guilted her into living.
That's fine.
All right. So what we're not going to do when we are squatting, peeing in the back of the trash can, whatever it is you're doing, is we don't want to lean forward.
Yeah. So
Right.
this is where, again, talking about body awareness, videoing yourself or having a mirror is really important, especially if you're newer, because that forward lean, if you're like, man, every time I squat, my back hurts, that could possibly be the biggest culprit right there.
Yes.
So forward lean.
You want to keep your shoulders over your hips. That forward lean, you're bringing that weight across the center of the center of your body, right? So you're going to have all this weight on a weaker part of your body than if I stand straight up in my torso. Yeah. So definitely don't want to forward lean. You put in here, no squatting below parallel, but other people would say, I don't know about that.
I would say it could go either way. Like, it depends on what your goals are.
Depends on how advanced you are too, just ask the grass.
And your mobility. So let's say squatting below parallel, not as much, but I would say feet distance is a big one that I see is people, especially the newer lifters, will keep a narrow stance. And so it's like they're trying to keep, and there is a narrow squat that you can do, but I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, that's not what you're trying to do. So feet need to be about shoulder width. About shoulder width apart, a little bit wider.
Little butt tuck wink. We talked a lot about this in CrossFit, where you'll see at the bottom of your squat, your butt literally will like pop up.
Yeah.
Right. So it is a little booty, right? But we don't want to do that when we have this heavy weight on. And so I want you to talk about right there in that part, that sticking point of the movement, what to be thinking about to get those hips to stay where they need to be.
This is where I would regress first and make sure that
lower weight.
Yeah. So, or even regress in the lower weight and then go to a box squat, make sure I'm feeling it the way I should, make that box squat lower and lower and lower. Again, videoing or watch. Well, I would say video yourself because you don't want to be turning your head in a mirror. So I would say regress, lighten the weight, make a box squat, start feeling it in your glutes and your quads. If you're feeling it in low back, we need to assess. And then that's how I'm going to progress through this. If you're seeing that butt wink, this is where like the parallel versus not parallel comes in, is if you get to a certain point and it winks, you don't maybe have to go that far. Cause sometimes I'll see that where I'm like, yeah. So sometimes I'll see that where I'm like, honestly, you don't have to go that low because it looks great up until that point. And if you want to, like, if your goal is an ass to grass squat, so meaning as low as you can go where your butt is essentially touching the floor, then we need to work on that. But most people don't have that goal. And honestly, that's not for my clients. Like, we're not working on that. We're working on building your booty and building your quads and building like a compound lift. So that's where I would say either stop shy of it, find where that is, but that's where body awareness comes in, or regress and start building up those muscles. So that way you're firing the correct ones for that movement. Because what's going to happen is as that butt winks, I always think of the butt as like your shelf. And so if that shelf comes underneath, what muscles are going to take over? Low back, right? And that way it's going to feel exponentially harder. Your butt's tucking. You don't know how to push it back up, and it's coming up underneath you instead of pushing the floor away and using the back end of your body.
So that's a good thing to talk about, is that push, right? Because it's the lower body push. So if you think about someone like trying to come at you and you like kick at them away.
Yeah. Honestly,
that would be really think about like pushing from the ground up.
Well, and you'll see a lot of women, like in the gym, they'll do a leg press instead of squat because it's less intimidating, right? Like you can just load plates. You don't have to do this whole barbell thing. It's literally take that leg press machine or that movement, and now you're turning it right upside, or however that works. Yeah.
Well, and that's a great example because on the leg press, it is not forward. It's usually lying flat, right? Your legs, you can either start in that lowered position, or some of them you start in an extended leg. So some you're in the like bottom part of the squat, and others you are in the top part of the squat. So I think that's great. The other thing too is making sure that we also, so we're not leaning forward, but also we're not kind of having this arch in our back.
Right.
So what we see is a lot of women will put the bar on their back and kind of squeeze their lats. squeeze their lats, their butt does that wink from that starting position, right? That's an indication you're probably a little bit, you're either too heavy or you just have that natural, like an exaggerated anterior pelvic tilt. So we're tilting that pelvis forward and our butt's going back. That is going to hurt. Even standing like that right now hurts. When to tuck those hips under, right? Again, this just goes back to posture.
Yep.
The other thing
go ahead.
Is your knees. We want to pay attention to your knees because we'll oftentimes see, and I see this a lot. I follow this girl. She's young and she's an Olympic lifter, and her fucking knee form. Everyone's like, what form is this, dad, or whoever it is? It just comes in. And I'm like, this cannot be safe for this child. You know? So talk to them about knee
coming in. Knees coming in is either weight's too heavy or weak glutes or your feet are collapsing. So this is where it's important to do a full assessment. Like, so if you do hire an in-person trainer or even a virtual trainer, like we need a full assessment, because if your feet are collapsing and we're trying to target the glutes, like that's not going to solve the problem. So, and like just putting a band, you'll see that sometimes around the outside of the knees to kind of give a tactile feedback. But again, if we're not working on like the foot strength or the glute strength independently of that, it's not really going to carry you beneficially, or it's not really going to carry you into a change of the movement. It also, you're asking for an injury at that point too. And you're probably going to lift heavier than you should, because now I'm not using the mechanics in the right way. So something's going to break down. There is one I will say, like if I'm watching someone do like a 1 rep heavy, sometimes you do see those knees come in, but I would never program a 1 rep max unless that was a client's intentional goal. And nor would I encourage anybody to do it, because your risk to reward ratio is so narrow.
Right. And just think about that, guys. If you were to be just standing and your knee knocked in, right? You'll feel like I'm doing it right now. And I can feel the stretch in my hip, right? And on the inside of my knee. So now I'm putting a lot of pressure on that inside of my knee. And now I'm trying to have a weight on top of it. I'm just standing right now and I can feel that. So think about, it's going to cause hip injury, knee injury. I mean, just pay attention to those knees. And you can, like with the feet spacing, you can have them in whatever feels comfortable to you. Now, obviously a sumo squat specifically is a larger stance or a wider stance, toes pointed out. But I know with some of my clients, my husband being one of them, his feet positioning is much different than mine because I'm all torso, baby. So good. What else?
The other one thing that we didn't mention is like I call like the craning the neck upwards. And so when you're talking about the anterior tilt, sometimes you see that there automatically. But basically what it is, if you imagine there's a barbell on your back, or even just holding like a goblet squat and you're looking up towards the ceiling, that's going to create that, like, I know that upward, like think of your chin going up, right? To catch a goldfish. And so putting it in women's turns. So when that
looking up at a male stripper on the dance floor.
Yeah, there we go. You're in Vegas.
Yes, you're in Vegas and he's dancing in front of you on the bar.
Yes. And so we don't want that either, because that's going to create a lot of tension in the cervical spine, so in the neck region. But it's also most likely going to put that added pressure and put you in that anterior tilt, because your body's got to make up for it somewhere else.
Oh, yeah. Well, and this is where we see that, asymmetrical, well, not this one particularly, but your body's going to make up for it. And what ends up happening too is that the muscle fibers begin to cross instead of run smoothly. And that's where we get like knots and of course injury. So we want to, again, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, right? Head over shoulders, over hips, knees over toes. And you don't have to go over the toes. I mean, knees over ankles, right? Now the over the toes is debatable for people. Some people say it's okay for your knees. I personally do not squat with my knees going past my second and third toe. I always keep my knees in alignment with my second and third toe, and my knees in alignment with my ankles. What?
I was trying to remember what I do. I'll have to look.
That's how I was taught.
It's comfortable.
Do it. Yeah. And for me at my age, I don't want, why am I going to do dumb shit? Why? So I could squat, ass to grass. No one cares. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
I personally love a box squat.
Yeah.
And like I talked about it earlier, I can start from a loaded position. So have the barbell on my back, sit down on the box, get comfy, then stand up. That's from the low, like the lower position. Or I can focus, then that would focus on your quads, focus on my glutes, just give it a little tap, boop, and come back up. I love that shit. It makes me feel safe.
Yeah.
And I know how to fucking squat. So I feel safe. You probably will feel safe too. How to progress. So obviously there is progressions in all of this. Here's the other thing I want you guys to hear is it's okay to regress too.
Oh yeah.
If say you get a new job and you're sitting all day, that's what we're talking about. You may not have as much strength. You may lose some of that just from being in the seat all day. And if you're not doing mobility, like we talked about, it's okay to come back to these, but the regression of any movement is going to be body weight, right? Bands, dumbbell or kettlebell. And then going into like barbell, or you can even do like leg press barbell, right? But then you have, your traditional squat, your goblet squat, your split squat, so on and so forth. So it's okay to regress and progress. You can do both in the same training phase if you need.
Well, I would say let's take pregnancy, for example, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've definitely regressed weight and regressed movement. So for like, we were talking about box squats. I'm doing box squats to emphasize for me, like focusing on glutes. Could I do that with just a barbell back squat? Absolutely. But for me, my ego would not let me do that. And so I know like, okay, here's a way that I can still lift heavy and I can still get what I want out of this. And it's a happy medium. Is it a regression because I'm using lighter weight and going to a box? Yes. But is it also keeping my body in a comfortable space and where I'm not, causing more pain than I need to? Yes.
And you're getting what you need out of it. So good. All right. Moving on to the deadlift, aka the twerk. The actual twerk. So you think about make your butt clap. And that is a hip hinge. You're hinging at your hips, right? So we call it hip hinge. Hip dominant movement is another one. So for example, we need to pick up something off the floor. So you drop your mascara. Yeah. Gotta pick it up. Right? Yeah. Do I drop a lot? Your phone. Ooh.
Everything. I think of it like my favorite thing. So like if we're going to talk like about it, like a single leg option is in Legally Blonde when they're in the nail salon. She talks about like the bend and snap.
Snap. That's a good one.
Minus like the snap, like overarching of the back, but the bending, that's a hip hinge and coming back up is your single leg deadlift.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great one. I think of your hands are full, you've got too many groceries, and you pop that booty to close that door in your car. So we're popping, boom, get out of here, door. Boom, boom, boom. Or that guy's trying to like dance up on you, boom, boom. And you're like, get out of here, boom, get him out of there. Hit. What? Sure. That would be me. He'd be like, and I'd be like, ew, get away from me.
I would always just kind of be like, oh, okay, never mind.
And then you just walk away.
Yeah.
I get that. Bend and snap, though. That was a good one.
I know.
A good one.
Legally Blonde.
More functional.
Yeah.
Getting the dishes out of the dishwasher. So where my dishwasher is obviously down on the bottom. And then I have these like open shelves. And so got to bend down and put them up on those open shelves. That's where my plates go and my bowls. So they're all white. Very aesthetically pleasing. All the colored things are behind the shelves or behind the doors. What else? What else is a fun one?
That's all I could think of for the deadlift.
All right. So those are our real world lady examples, right? Yeah. I have a good one.
What?
Petting dogs. I pet dogs all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I got to pet all the dogs. So I'm going to bend down. Pet the dogs. It also might be a squat, depending on how small that little puppy is. And if I need to get all in their face, I might be squatting. or I might just go down because that's what I do when I walk. I hip hinge, let him smell my hand, and then I give him loves, and then I go back walking.
Mm-hmm.
It's an everyday thing. It brings me joy. All right. What not to do
What not
in
to do?
our hip hinge movement. So again, think about it, guys. Grab your hips. Put your hand up on your hips.
When I dip.
Don't dip. We're going to dip our boobs forward. Boobs go forward. Boobs come back.
I do this
Hands
with clients
hip.
is I go, okay, put your back against the wall. Now take a step forward. Now
It's the wall.
we just need to
Everything's
be
going to be song.
sponsored by the rap game.
Hip-hop.
Yeah, by hip hop today. So what I say is put back up against the wall, take a step forward. I hit you in the pelvis, butt touches wall. So
Got it.
think of me hitting you in the pelvis, your butt goes back, touches the wall. That's usually my first, like that is the hip hinge. But what you'll see is feet will fall, like toes will come up and they'll fall backward, or toes will come up forward. That just means we need to maintain like more of a center of gravity and more control with that too.
Yes, 1000%.
And let your knees kind of give a little bit of a bend. Stop locking them out.
Yeah, we don't want to lock them out.
No.
That's absolutely not what we want to do. I have hyperextended knees, so that can be hard sometimes. So I'll always just bend them because I have a natural hyperextension. A rounded back, or like we talked about, like the bomb posture apparently. So we're rounding our back, right? So caving in, and you think about that. You have this heavy bar. I think of the barbell when you see people doing it this way. Now, some people talk about having a rounded spine for certain types of lifts. We're not talking about that.
Right.
I don't even get into that shit because I don't train that way. I don't teach people that. And if they want something more specific, then we're not the coaches for them. So what I want you guys to think about is like next time you're like sweeping or something, grab a broomstick, grab the top of it at the top of your head, the bottom at your
butt,
the bottom of your back, or like your sacrum area. Okay. And you're just going to stand up and we're going to bend forward, and that broomstick should not leave your back.
Right.
Because if I am rolling forward, the bottom part's going to go up. Right. So that's a really good way to practice this. And as we're talking about in ladies' terms, maybe we're sweeping, maybe we're whatever. I don't sweep. I use a Dyson, which would not work for this.
Oh, a Caesar.
No, I love my Dyson. Dyson products are the shit.
They are great.
That's going to be helpful. The other part about that too is this irks the shit out of me. I was training next to a trainer training someone. I was working out next to a trainer training someone.
Oh no, here we go. Was it
Michael's
trainer?
Deadlift. No, it was in Pennsylvania. She was teaching him how to deadlift, and his neck
looked up. Craning again. Not good.
Think about the dynamics of that. Like, when would you ever pick something up off the ground with your head up? You're looking either down at the thing, but when you're deadlifting, you want to look just a little bit forward, right? So if I was picking up groceries off the ground, I'm not going to look up.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? And if you did, you probably hurt yourself.
Yep.
You know? So definitely head position, and that little, you can start working from that place of the broomstick.
Yes.
Or like a PVC pipe.
So the other thing with deadlift is we want to watch feet distance again. So opposite of the squat where feet were wider apart, your deadlift, they're going to be just underneath your hips. Unless you're doing a sumo deadlift or like a split stance deadlift, that's different. But in general, feet are going to be in a more narrow position. So be aware of that. Then the other thing that I'll see is like if the legs are locked out and then the chest is coming below the knees. So it's creating kind of like I think of like those oil rig pumps in Texas where, they're coming. Yeah. I know. I don't know why, but it's always a good example for the deadlift.
Like my little teapot.
Yes. Oh yeah. There you go. So what you want to do, like your chest should not be below your knees or your hips, because you got to think, if my chest is below my knees and hips, I've got to pull from that position so it can help my back of my legs and my butt can help. So I'm going to hurt my low back or my mid back coming from there. So there is going to be some knee give and a slight knee bend. Now, is it as much as the squat? No. But it's something to consider. That I almost, like Christina was saying, you want that flat back. Think of the pole. Like the pole should always be, or the PVC pipe or the broom. Once it gets to that, when I'm leaning over, it should be in a nice horizontal plane. So
Mhm.
it goes from vertical, angle, angle, horizontal. There is no angle, vertical on the other end of it.
It makes me hurt when I see
I know,
people,
me too.
Now again, depending on your body composition, like if you are shorter, you may go a little bit further past
Right.
like mid shin. But if you think about a true like American deadlift or just deadlift in general, I'm actually like starting with my knees bent a bit. I'm still in that hip hinge, but where I do a Romanian deadlift, starting from the top. So your traditional deadlift is going to start from the ground, pull up, right?
Yeah.
My Romanian, I'm going to start at the top. I'm not going back down to that ground.
Right.
I'm going just past those knees and mid shin, between your knee and mid shin. And when I see people do that and then their neck's up, I'm like, how's your body?
Ow.
How you doing over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with arthritis.
Yes.
The other thing is just kind of not controlling the bar.
Yes.
Oh, it's now, again, if you're doing a 1 rep max, that's different. But we want to have control of that bar. We want that bar to almost like, we want it to stay close to our body. I'll see people sometimes have the bar out in front of them. Remember where that center of gravity is, right? So keeping that bar as close, almost skimming your body. Don't necessarily do that. But also, all of this should be in a controlled manner because I'm not picking up my groceries and dropping them on the ground. Right?
Yep.
So I want to pick up those groceries and then I'm going to walk, farmer's carry. And then I'll slightly, if I'm going to put them back on the ground, I'm just going to hip hinge there. We want to do the same thing with that bar.
We also want to keep the bar close to the body too, because we'll see that too. Like the bar, almost like you have it out in front of you. Yeah. So like you said, scraping your shins almost, and honestly, some people do, and they wear shin guards. So really close to you. Then, so how to progress and regress this. So I like to start in a hip bridge. So on the ground, lifting my hips. Where do I feel it? Do I feel it in my low back? Do I feel it in my butt and hamstrings? Because that's going to be a difference that we need to start building that body awareness at that point. Because if now I load a bar and put you on and you don't know what it feels like to feel it in your back of legs, then we're missing the point. So hip bridges, and then I like to do a hip thrust. So the difference between a hip bridge and hip bridge, my back is on the ground. The hip thrust, my back is usually on an elevated surface. So like think of like a bench or a couch or even like an end table, and I'm lifting up. And then what I like to do is the butt to the wall. So thinking of like a good morning, if you know what I'm talking about there. So butt to wall, coming back. Then we use the PVC pipe. Then let's add in dumbbells, because dumbbells are a lot less intimidating and you can do a lot lighter working on forearm than a barbell. And then I would progress to barbell from that point.
I agree.
Okay.
I like to start with the broom example.
Yes.
Personally.
See? So. And it depends on the trainer too. Like you like to start there. I like to be like, okay, can you even feel your ass? And let's do that in a safe way real quick.
Yeah. Good. All right.Moving into overhead press, I think of raising the roof.
I thought of when you were doing the dishwasher example. So taking dishwasher, there's your deadlift, and then putting something overhead away is your overhead press. Luggage on your airplane.
Luggage on your airplane. We talked about that before. If you ever want to treat your child or your dog like Simba, even though that's not really
throwing them in the pool like that.
Throwing them up, catching them. Yeah. You know, people love doing that with their kids. Don't do that with your dogs. I don't know. That would be mean.
This time of year, putting up decorations, right?
That's
so hanging stuff. What, Halloween lights, Christmas lights, all of that. So
what else? What else? Overhead press, any sort of like fun dance move overhead, Oh,
I throw our hands up in the air, T-Pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody's hands go up. And then and then they go up, down, up, down.
Up, down. Yes.
I love that song. That's all I do is hard at his concerts.
Oh my gosh. I would have died.
Yeah.
So overhead. Yeah. What else? Doing your hair. No, that doesn't really work because you're not extended.
Yeah, your hair's not that big.
Kind of bent. Yeah. All right. Just kidding. All right. So Amanda's favorite one to talk about, pushing your head through at the top.
Yes.
So first things first, when we're in the overhead position, obviously we also want to focus on our wrists, right? But so we're in that position. We have a barbell on our back, or we have dumbbells in our hands, and you're pushing it straight up, right? So we're pushing it straight up. But what we'll see a lot of people do is turtle their head through. Tell me about your beef.
Well, because I still do it. It's so annoying. I know. And I catch myself, like I video myself. I'm like, God damn it, I'm still doing it. So you don't want to push your head through, because you're going to end up creating an instability in your shoulders. Right. And then it's got to come back through. So your shoulders are moving a lot instead of being in a locked out and down position. Like you almost want to, if I have my arm raised up overhead. So if you want to do this, I'm going to put my other hand on my shoulder blade of the opposite side of my arm that's raised. And if I can kind of shrug and pull down that muscle, that's the stability that I'm looking for to keep in the shoulders. But if I'm pushing my neck through, now that muscle has moved, right? There is no stability. And so I've lost that. And then your core or some other part of your body, like we've talked about, is going to have to make up for that imbalance.
Yeah. Well, I think about my issue, which is I have huge trap muscles, and I know that I'm doing more shrugging at the top, right? So instead of turtling my head forward, I'm kind of like cradling it with my shoulders,
right?
I guess you would say, where I'm pushing, and like my trap muscles are raising up. And I know that's why I don't do it anymore, but why I have such large trap muscles, because I also carry a lot of stress in my traps.
Yeah.
So I would see myself kind of giving this shrug at the top of the position.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it does not feel good.
Not good. Not good.
Right. So. The other one we already kind of talked about, that anterior pelvic tilt, pushing that pelvis forward, right? And now we're overhead. Where's the center of gravity? That's something I want you guys to be thinking about in this. Where's my center of gravity, right? And this is a lot of, like, if you think about your diaphragm, your pelvic floor, right? We want that line to go straight through. But if our weight, our boobs are in front of us, that's not our center.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's, oh, gosh. And that, I just think about people who do that. And again, I'm thinking about Olympic lifters. You see that a lot where it's so heavy, but even people, your average Joe, and I'm like, that bar is going to fall on you.
I know.
A lot of people don't know how to bail from that. Oh, it makes me cringe. Cringe.
Yeah. The other thing with that too is what you'll see with the chest falling forward or backward too, is they're pushing the bar almost like away from them instead of directly overhead. So the scary thing is that I find with clients, if you're using a barbell, it's not so much with actually it's not with dumbbells at all. The barbell is, you do almost have to get your head out of the way a little bit. And I think that's where that pushing the head through comes in, because, okay, you feel like you move your head out of the way a lot more. So you overcompensate by pushing your head through. But if it's just a little push away and then I'm bringing it up, my head is not moving that much. But what you'll see is the bar, because we don't want to scratch our face or something like that, they'll push the bar forward, creating almost like a V instead of a direct line. And now that's going to make the barbell feel heavier. It's also going to put a lot of strain on your shoulders. So that is one thing to watch out for.
Well, and what you're saying, like we talked about with the deadlift, we want to keep that bar like close to our body.
Yes.
Right. Yes. We want it to move straight up and down. We want to avoid pushing that bar forward or backwards. Right. So just remembering, like, where is this weight and what direction does it need to go? Where is my center of gravity when it comes to that direction? Yep. So good. All right.
The other thing too is you need to know which press you're doing, because so for example, there's a difference between a strict press and a push press. Yep. So with a push press, I'm going to be able to use more weight because I've got some momentum going with my body. Strict press is going to be less weight because I'm literally focused on just using my shoulders and arms to get that bar or dumbbells overhead. But
Z press, you're sitting in a V, like a straddle.
A straddle. There you go.
Yeah. You're in a straddle position and that one's tough.
So hard.
That's advanced. Yeah. I love
so you need to figure out which one you're doing. Now, how to progress? I would start with a PVC pipe. Make sure that line is directly parallel. Then move to light dumbbells. Make sure you're feeling it in the scap. Then I would move to heavier dumbbells, then the barbell.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'm not scared of it hitting my face at this point.
I've had it hit my face a couple times, and it's like, oh, whatever.
Really?
Oh yeah.
My biggest injury was box jumps on an
Oh
actual fucking
God.
box.
Yeah. Ugh.
Ugh.
I still have that feeling because it's
Ugh.
happened to me twice. I
Yes.
still have that feeling. Like my gut still does the thing when I think about that because
Yeah.
that is honestly the worst pain I've probably
Agreed.
had.
Agreed.
And
It
it's
sucks.
like, oh,
Good.
okay.
All right.
Anyway,
Moving on to the
Rose.
core. Yeah. Real quick, pause. I don't think we do.
Rose.
This is already getting late. Let's do rows and
Okay.
just focus on that. And then core,
Skip,
and then end
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. We're going to focus on rows.
Okay.
So I think of skiing.
Okay. Keep going.
I've never skied before,
Okay.
as you can tell.
Yeah.
Like, you go.
Okay.
Cut that, Ira.
Rows. Okay, so let's go into rows. I think of like placing something on a shelf. So I'm going to take something, and it's not necessarily I'm pushing it overhead. I'm putting it on top of the shelf. That's essentially a row, or something on my countertop. I'm reaching for an item on my countertop and then bringing it back towards me. Vacuuming is a great one. So I'm pushing the thing forward and pulling it back, pushing it forward and pulling it back. Or Christina mowing the lawn,
dancing,
or playing tug of war with pets. So like if your dog is like super strong, obviously this is a little bit different, but like when you're faking it with a not so strong dog, you're pulling it back, letting it go forward and letting them win, pulling it back and letting them win.
That's a good one. But yes, dancing, right? So you're kind of pulling. And now if you're dancing like me, where I lead, keep that in mind. But yeah, anything where we are, like you said, arm is extended, we're pulling that arm back. You guys getting proposed to, your hands out, and then you're looking at it.
Oh,
hands out, looking at it. That's a row.
Okay.
But we can go all day with this, I think. The Macarena, hands out. Just kidding.
Like, no,
not it. Not
that one.
Trying to think of any other dance moves.
I think what we need to talk about is the location of the row too, because there's going to be like an upper row, mid row, low row, right? And so depending on hand placement or even fulcrum placement, I don't know if that's necessarily the right, but where your attachment is. So like think of, okay, let's do a cable machine here. So if my cable machine setup for the pulley system is about shoulder height, that's probably a high row. If it's about where my arms are going to go kind of past my rib cage, it's probably a mid row. If my hands are going to be underhand and the bar is a little bit, or the pulleys are a little bit lower, that's probably a lower back row. Now, it's not to say that like one is better than the other. It just kind of depends on a goal. So like, for example, some of my girls like who are wanting to get married, right? I'm probably going to do more of an upper row because they want that like nice shoulder back definition where you're not going to see that low back definition as much. So that's something to consider. You also need to recognize like your grip on the pulley machine or even on the barbell or dumbbells is going to change where it's targeting as well. Yeah.
Agreed. So I know we've said it twice already, but paying attention to your back, right? So if I'm doing a bent over row, also I am in a hip hinge position, right? And I'm keeping that bar close to my body. There is going to be a little bit more space than if you're doing a deadlift, right? And you basically want to take your, number one, we want to have our neck in alignment with our spine at always, neck in alignment with the spine. And we're going to take those elbows and scrape them next to your body. Think about when you're putting on really tight pants or like, your elbows are scraping, right? Think about that. Pull those pants up. That's a row.
Okay.
Tight pants. And so just being careful of that. Again, pushing that pelvis forward. We're going to tuck those hips under. We're going to keep that neck in alignment with the spine. We're going to keep those elbows close to us unless we're doing a snatch grip row, which is going to be outside of us, but we're just going to talk traditional and we're going to bring those elbows back.
Yes.
So no flailing elbows, no chicken wings, guys.
Well, and watch the momentum too. Like we keep saying that, but don't just like let it crash down. Like control this for yourself.
Right.
I would say moving on to progression is I would start with one, making sure I know what it feels like to use my back instead of just using my shoulder or like my chest for this too. So I like a good cable or resistance band either way because it's more fixed. And I would stand doing it and making sure that it's coming in a nice 90-degree angle if you're going to start there. And then I would go into a bench row with a dumbbell. And then I would do bent over row, right? Because that's going to we're going to want to be able to feel the butt, the hamstrings with that, then pull the shoulders, then the barbell row.
And the spine alignment. Yeah. It's a lot of things.
I know.
Whereas if you're just like on the bench, you could do a 3-point where your one hand is on the bench, 2 feet on the ground, rowing up. You can put where one leg is on the bench and we're rowing, creating more range of motion. So definitely the bent over row is a good progression from that. And then barbell, which we talked about. Yep. So yeah, we just want to kind of explain it to you guys. It's really important for you, as you can see, good form. You will notice that not only are you seeing progressions in the gym, but you're also seeing progressions in your life. I have clients who are like, oh my God, I had to wheelbarrow something and it was super easy. Or, unfortunately for our clients who are doing cleanup because of the hurricane, like they've had to pick up fucking, trees off the ground. Yeah. And so you'll notice, oh, I don't get as winded, or I have more muscle endurance too, right? When I am creating that strength in the gym. We just wanted to help you guys kind of think about, like, you'll be doing a hip hinge and be like, twerk.
Where do I feel it?
Yeah. We want to give you cues that make sense for you.
Yeah.
Again, this is to help reduce injury and just get the most out of these lifts.
Right. Improve posture and give you a greater body awareness. It always goes back for us to the mind connection, right? And so if you're able to feel what your body's doing in space, we're able to identify what it needs as well. So because your body's going to provide feedback of like, oh, that doesn't feel good. Or even if you're saying like, I think I feel that in my low back, that's positive reinforcement that you're making progress too. Because
of course,
what we'll see with clients sometimes is like, oh, the weight's not getting heavier. The weight's not. And it's like, yeah, but look at your form from day 1 compared to day like 30. Like that, it doesn't matter that the weight's not getting heavier. It's more so that look at the progress and the muscle structure that you're building because of this good foundation. Because if you want to do this I promise you from my own experience, if you want to do this long term, it's much better to work on the foundations when you can, as opposed to waiting till an injury happens and then you got to cycle back through.
Yes, 1000%. No, and I was going to say something and I forgot. It's getting too late for my brain.
I know. Wrap it up. Just wrap it up.
No, I wanted to piggyback off that because I think it's such a cool thing to hear a client like have that win of, oh my gosh, like I have someone working on her stability in lunges was off. And I'm just talking reverse lunges, right?
Really?
It wasn't pain. It wasn't anything. And I said, okay, this is a blind spot for you. This is something I want to continue to work on. So we extended her training out because she's very focused on that. Because again, like she understands because she's our client, the importance of balance work. And so we continued with that. And they have a couple of other clients just working on, symmetry and creating symmetry in their body, especially one client's training for a half marathon right now. And so, it's having that be a part of the process is progress, right? And being able to understand it, it takes, and I bet you are the same way. You haven't been to a gym in a while, but I go to the gym sometimes and it just makes me sad when I see people with form that sucks, but I am not going to tell them what to do.
Yeah, me either.
It's not my place.
Boundaries. But I always think like, oh, let me just help you. And I'm like, no, they maybe they learned it from somebody, or maybe they're doing their trainer's workout and their trainer thinks it's okay.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Mhm.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this. I know we have other episodes, and we did only focus on those compound movements just because we wanted to make it kind of silly and simple for you to remember some of these things. Please, 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 if you think of anything that we did not list, put it in the comments, send it to us on social media. Like, we want to hear this stuff. We want to hear from you guys. We love our audience. It's growing every day, and we want to get to know you and know if we're even talking about shit you want to talk about. So if you want to follow us on social media, you'll find our team at Mindset of Matter Coaching. You'll find Amanda at fitbyamanda.az. You'll find recordings of this on YouTube at the Mindset of Matter page. And you will find a link to our Clarity Call. We have a new group coaching program that is no longer cohort style. It is going to be an evergreen open style subscription model. And we are going to have a ton of people in there to support each other and learn from each other. And so if that is of interest or our one-to-one coaching, please check out that link below. Other than that, while you're looking in your reflection to look at your form, we want to remind you of one thing.
What you say in the mind.
You see in the mirror.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Bye.